that it's just a matter of time before we all start, using oxygen masks and cylinders, carry backpacks with oxygen cylinders. So before that happens, I think it's for the Bangaloreans, for the people everywhere, not just Bangaloreans, around the Bannerghatta, anywhere. People will stand up and say, yes, this is enough. Enough damage has been done. We can't afford it. See, from my background, what I've seen Bannerghatta was just a scrappy forest, more of a shrub forest. Here and there, we had patches of good crown trees and all the stuff. And today, the way it is developed is amazing. But at the same time, we are seeing more number of pressures coming up on Bannerghatta. There's called the linear projects. You have the quarrying activities being going on for ages. Right. And then we have the NHIA coming and they want to do something. Then there are administrative problems. We'll talk about one by one. But I would like to begin telling people about what Bannerghatta has. We all should be aware that it's just hardly about 260 square kilometers. That is all we have. That is about, if you put it in acres, it's just 65,000 acres. And we can't protect that for our own good. And I think we're all doomed. We don't deserve to get good air to breathe, good water to drink, and have the facility of good health. I think if you go back, see, one of the better ranges in Bannerghatta is Kodiali. I mean, this is where the tiger was first seen. We all should be proud that we have a tiger in our vicinity. 22 kilometers away from Bangalore, we have a tiger prowling there, which we need to protect. And I mean, if you look at the ecosystem there, it's brilliant. I've been to most of the forests in Karnataka. Initially, what I saw Bannerghatta and what I see today is amazing. There's a vast difference. At the same time, if I have to draw a comparison, what we saw of Sharavati those days, I mean, especially the Shumoga region, Sirsi Forest Division, it is completely devastated. That way, if you compare it, Bannerghatta is doing much, much better. We are losing our, what you call our prime forests in the Western Ghats. And you feel sorry about it. What you saw then and what you see today in the Western Ghats is pathetic. But at the same time, we should be happy at least Bannerghatta has reached some level where we can take pleasure of saying that is one of the greatest urban forests in any part of the world. I mean, having a tiger there makes us feel good, and there are any number of species there. And I want to recall something which goes back to the early 90s. People now say they've seen rattles, that's the honey badger in the Kaveri Belt region, Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary. But I saw a rattle as way back as 1998 in Bannerghatta. So you can see the exotic species that we have there. I'm an endemic species. So it's fantastic. So let's all do something about it. I would like to begin with the eco-sensitive zone issue in Bannerghatta right now. What's been happening there is, I think the government is not clear on what it wants to do. At one stage, it says it wants to expand the eco-sensitive zone. And next level, it comes back and says we're reducing the eco-sensitive zone to allow quarrying operations, other, what you call the developers, land developers coming in, building there. So all kind of things are happening. Somehow this is very, very issue. This is still hanging in the air. I think as people, we need to step in and tell the government, enough is enough. We have had enough of it. Whoever they are, we need to tell them, sorry, this cannot go on. We all have to come together. We need to save Bannerghatta at any cost. The eco-sensitive zone, let it remain at whatever it was to be given earlier. They've reduced it by 100 square kilometers. Very, 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 very unfortunate. And we are responsible for that. We are the people who hold these guys to power. So we are responsible for that. We need to ask them questions, say, sorry, we have voted you, you're responsible, you're working for us. You need to do what we want you to do. So this is something that we need to drive into people and saying, listen, it's enough. We need our Bannerghatta in one piece. Stop all the activities. Bangalore has grown wild with buildings. If you look at the tree cover in Bangalore, it's gone. It's dipping. They're going to cut another 40,000 trees. So you can imagine what the plight. We have to depend entirely on Bannerghatta and the small pockets of reserve forest that they are in and around Bangalore. So I think Bangaloreans have to raise up, stand up and question the government. Their elected members have to be questioned repeatedly. That's the only way forward. We have to say that, because see, since the time this government has declared the eco-sensitive zone, they were reducing it. Already activities have started. The quarrying operations have started, and there are builders coming in and started. I mean, they've started developing the lands around there. Even deemed forests are not being allowed to be. They're not allowing plantation in the deemed forest areas. So somewhere we need to tell these politicians who they are, how big they are, whatever their background may be. We need to write to them. We need to question them, and this is the only way we can do that is repeatedly question that, bring it into social media. And I mean, there's a lot to talk, but I think that this is something that I want to drive in. The important thing is our dependence on the media is not what it was in the past, because the media has got too many things to cover. So one subject it takes up, next day you don't see that, no follow-up is there, be it the television or the print media. So it's a social media activism which can keep on putting pressure on the politicians. And today, all our politicians are on Twitter, they are on Instagram, they're on Facebook, you name everything, they're there, Telegram, anything for that matter. So I think social media is a good stream to put pressure. At the end of the day, if they don't do, then we have the legal option. If that doesn't work, we have to be on ground and protest. It's our right. We might be called green naxals or urban naxals or whatever naxals. We need to step in now and stop this. There's no two ways about that. And eco-sensitive zone, we have to start putting pressure on the government, be it the chief minister, be it the local MLAs, anybody for that, or the MPs. I will see at one point of time, some of the MPs said, yes, we will do that. But they backed out under pressure, because they've got lobbies working there. They get money out of these lobbies, be it the builders, be the quarrying operators, everybody pays them. So I think we have every right to stop that. I mean, going into other issues, if I can talk about, is you look at the very aspect of, we have a buffer zone there. And the government allows the Indian Institute of Management, which is one of the premier institutes in the country or in the world, which is building, it's coming up with a management. I mean, they're constructing a campus there. They already have a bigger campus on Bannerghatta Road. They could just develop it there. And these are educated people. And how do we allow that? And then the sorry state of affairs is that one of the principal chief conservator of forests on the verge of retirement, he gives the clearance, a blanket clearance for that. So somewhere everything is not what it should be. I think we need to ask questions, we need to push. If we don't do, the eco-sensitive zone will remain as what the government deems it to be, and we are the ones who are going to suffer. So it's high time we step up, ask questions, and I think we need to take it forward. We need to push. There's no two ways about it. And I'm telling you repeatedly, Bangaloreans cannot sit back and think everything is going to be okay. You're not going to be okay, because the moment your Western Ghats go, there's more pressure on Bangalore from when Bannerghatta also goes. So let's rise up, let's ask questions, let's move. And it's only the people's movement who can make the difference. So that's where it is. And coming to other issues there in Bannerghatta, as all of us know, the 260 square kilometers what we have is a fragmented forest. If you go in, you'll see there are any number of settlements there. There are agricultural lands there. There are plantations. There are resorts. People fancy all these rich, powerful, or moneyed photographers, initial photographers, now wildlife conservationists. They've all bought up land there and they're settling down there. They could at least, when they talk so much, they might as well surrender the land to the forest department and say, okay, let's be part of that. But we see this happening more. I got a lot of my friends who talk about conservation. We need to do this, we need to do that. This very same people are buying up lands there. And moment you buy, 10 others are going to buy, because they say, okay, if you bought it, I'm going to buy that. This is how it is spread. And if you look at Bannerghatta, it's punctuated with resorts, private properties. So this is something that is another concern. Fragmentation is, and now today, as we talk about it, we have people trying to snatch land from the forest. There are about 350 acres, which is under threat in Aroli range. And that is only 12,000 acres. In that 350 acres being asked by the tribal settlers there. So there are a lot of issues, and fragmentation has been happening over a period of time. And unfortunately, I don't see the senior officers, forest officers, doing anything about it. They're being paid to protect our forests, not to please our ministers and MLAs. These MLAs, these politicians are our servants. They are bound to listen to us. So why are the forest officers playing ball with these guys? This is something that I always question. I said, you are being paid by the public. It's your duty to protect the forest. You're not here to listen to what the damn politician says. They can do what they want. It's a people's power. People can make a difference. And I think we are the fools. We are allowing this to happen over and over again. We have made this happen to whatever extent the damage has happened so far. It's time we rise up and say, no, we have had enough of it. We have had enough. Stop this devastation. Leave our ecosystem alone. Leave us alone. You want to make your money, invest somewhere else, make your money. We're not bothered. So this is something people need to be repeatedly asking, questioning. We have to drive the point into our politicians, saying that you are voted by us. You do what you want us, we want you to do, not that you want to drive on us. This is exactly what's happening. And if you look at it, somewhere I feel the entire management of the forest itself is in a disaster right now. As I speak now, I can tell you that Bannerghatta has no management plan. In such a scenario, how do you protect a forest? So you're losing more and more land, more and more forests are being lost. When people can stop you from planting in a deemed forest area, which has already been bought by somebody and handed over to the forest department, you can well imagine the rot. Are MLAs much bigger than the people of this country? No, this cannot go on. We need to stop this. So somewhere, I mean, there's a lot, I mean, it's again and again, I always say, it is us, we are the fools. We are allowing this to happen. If we start questioning, I think all this will stop. And this is time we do that. And it's a matter of time that people will step out. We're just waiting for this coronavirus to settle down. I think we call ourselves green naxals, before the government calls us anything, we'll call ourselves green naxals. We'll step on, because we don't care a damn anymore about what the government says, what the government wants to do. It has to stop this devastation of a forest. We all know about what the EIA was all about. Thankfully, the judiciary has been kind, and we have only hope with the judiciary now. So let's all step in. Let's stop doing, I mean, let's start questioning them. It's time we do that. And Bangaloreans, please wake up. It's not, we cannot sit back anymore. And there are instances where I can say, like when you talk about the any number of wildlife crimes that have happened in Bannerghatta National Park. And the moment somebody is caught, a poacher is caught, this guy will get political pressure on the forest officers to saying that no criminal case should be filed. So no charge sheet is made. So an effort is made by an RFO or a forest guard to nab a culprit, a poacher, and that guy walks away. What's the effort? You might as well sit back and allow the forest to be, raided. Anybody can walk in and walk out with whatever they want. There's one tiger, even that could go. If there's no conviction, there's no charge sheet filed, then what is the point? What are we protecting this forest for? I mean, we need to ask these questions. We need to ask these senior forest officers, what the heck are you guys doing? We cannot allow them to sit back and thinking that they are here listening to what the bureaucracy says or what the ministers are saying. No, sorry. It's us. We are paying the money. We have a right to ask you questions. You might as well listen to us now. Time has come. We are being devastated. We know what climate events are. We know what's been happening in this world around us. So are we going to sit back and think that and allow these things to happen? Allow the forest officers to be recalcitrant? allow the politicians to do what they want to do, allow these governments, wherever, center, state, wherever, do you think they can do what they want to do? I think no. Time has come, we need to stop this.
Yes, that's right, sir. So I had one question regarding the eco-sensitive zone. We all know that the zone area has been reduced from 268 square kilometers to 181 square kilometers, and despite the huge public protest, the eco-sensitive zone has been reduced and it's official. So this was in news in March 2020 by Hindustan Times, and they say that to compensate for this reduction, the government has come up with a zonal master plan, which is to be prepared within next 2 years in consultation with local people, environment, wildlife, and the forest department. So they say that this plan will provide restoration and management of denuded areas, water bodies, catchment areas, and other such aspects of ecology and environment that needs attention. So, however, the residents around the park say that, this green belt will now be taken over by mining and land mafias. So there are two questions which I think, and you can choose to answer them one after the other, or maybe together. So the first part of the question is, sir, now the government is talking about the zonal master plan. What was stopping them to manage this reduced eco-sensitive zone till now? And do you think this zonal master plan will be effective?
See, where I come from, what I want to tell you is, every time they come up with a zonal plan or whatever master plan, everything, management plan, everything, nothing works. 80% of the time, we see the zonal master plans or the forest management plan, nothing is put into effect. It is just on paper.
Joseph sir, this Sudhir here. To add to her question, how is that when eco-sensitive zone is already declared? How is it the government has unilateral powers to reduce uh, reduce or decommission the amount of area of the zone?
They should not. If you go by the law, they cannot do that. This has been allowed by the politicians, because see what happened was there were a couple of politicians, MPs, who got involved in that and saying that eco-sensitive zone has to be maintained as declared earlier. But then even their voice was overruled. So
No, if you go, even if you go to the courts,
just like
how would we?
Excuse me, sir. Can we keep the questions, participants' questions, to the end, because the moderator is still not yet finished her question. So I request you to keep your questions till the end, sir. Joseph Hoover, sir, will spend some time answering questions in the end. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Thank you. So I think you're quite clear about the zonal master plan, sir, that it's not going to be, it's 80% of the time these kind of plans are not effective, right? So yeah, it makes sense. And then there was a place where, you have been talking about the fragmented land areas in Bannerghatta National Park. And with this, we also talk about the fragmented elephant corridors. So, sir, there is a Karadikar Mahadeshwara corridor, which is just 800 meters wide, with a road transacting horizontally, connecting two villages, which is Jaipur, Dodi, and I guess Biligan Kuppe, and which are on the either sides of the road, and this makes the human-elephant conflict quite predominant in that area. And there is another corridor from BNP to the southern portion of Hosur Forest Division, with villages which are located at the fringes of the corridor, which causes the reduction in its weight. So there is one temple which is called Bande Mutare Swami temple, located at the entrance of the corridor, and especially during festival season, there is tremendous pressure on the elephant movement. So this kind of situation results in fragmented and degradation in the quality of the corridor. So these are just two examples of how we are trying to coexist with our wildlife, but unfortunately we are failing miserably. So the question to you, sir, is what can we do about these kind of situations, and is moving the human settlement away from the corridor or these forest areas a viable option?
It has been in the past. It's been a viable option. If you look at Nagrole, if you look at the Bhadravati, I mean the Bhadra Wildlife Sanctuary areas, there has been relocation. Even Kudremukh, so to some extent. If you look at Bandipur, it has happened in the past. So they have to really, I mean, if they want to, expand augment the elephant corridor, wild animal corridor, they can do that. It's just that you need to buy the land from the villages and give them another option.
Sir, I think you have been muted. So can you please unmute yourself?
Unmute. Okay,
Yeah,
I muted myself. Okay,
yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
what did it. Anyway, so what I'm saying is it has been done. Relocation has been done earlier. It's not that it's not been successful. Some people are unhappy. Yes, it has happened. But it can be done in Bannerghatta. We've been talking about this for almost 2 decades now. There were at one time people wanting to sell their land, saying that they're willing to give it away. But then there is no CSR fund coming in. First of all, what I like to look at is the government has got enough and more money. There's no need for CSR funding for all this. We spend, if you look at the forest department itself, it spends a lot of money on development, works and all that stuff. All that can be put aside. They can start buying land in parts. It's like if you look at now in Bandipur, one Mr. Potraj has given away 110 acres of land to Bandipur to expand the elephant corridor there, Kanyanapura corridor. So here also we could do that. I mean, people could, the government could reach out, pay the money, buy up the land and expand the corridor. It can be done. And when it comes to the religious sentiments, if you look at it, it's not just Bannerghatta, it is all over. You go to Bandipur, you go to Nagrole, we still have issues. People come there and go every year. There's a festival, people come there, they have jatras. So these things have been part of the system, but there has been a lot of restrictions of late. So somewhere that restrictions can be brought in even in Bannerghatta, especially if you look at the Kodiali area. We have one of the most pristine patches of forest in Bannerghatta overall. That area, there's a lot of activity, but that can be restricted. I think the department has been successful to some extent, and some of the NGOs are also involved there, and they're trying to do whatever best they can do. But again, it comes from the people. It has to be people oriented. People need to say, okay, we don't want to do this. So somewhere it has to happen within, and it has to happen from the government. But unfortunately, the government just sits back. They want only power. They want only money. Their politicians are only interested in money, power, because they prepare for the next elections. So they're not worried about all these things. And we, again, as I said, we are the fools. We allow this to happen.
That's right. Yeah, I think as citizens, we can be more responsible.
We need to.
Yes. Yes, you're right. So I wanted to bring this up because there have been a lot of environmentalists talking about EIA 2020 draft. So it's basically, I mean, for those who don't know, it's a process where people's view are taken into consideration for granting any final approval to any development projects or activity. So, and the main cause of concern is that, almost 40 different projects are exempted for any environment clearance or any environmental permission approval or any public consultation. And these the projects include like building, construction, etc. And we know that there is a Harohalli Anekal Road in the elephant corridor area which is getting constructed, which is a serious disturbance to the elephants, leopards, and other animals. So the thing is, the road is already connecting Harohalli and Anekal and has already cut through the elephant corridor. And the proposal to make it 4-lane road without the permission from the National Board of Wildlife or its standing committee is concerning, sir. So I wanted to ask you, what are your views on EIA 2020 draft, and how in other ways, the roadway which is getting constructed between Harhali and Anikal right now. So how in other ways will it directly affect our Bannerghatta National Park?
Yeah, if you talk about EIA, if
Yes.
this draconian law comes through, the draft is cleared by the cabinet. I think we have pulled the plug on our own, our own death. We are prepared. We need to prepare ourselves if the government clears this. It's so disastrous. It's overriding even the Environmental Protection Act. It will dilute everything else. This has been very cleverly designed. During a time when the pandemic is happening, they thought people wouldn't react, but unfortunately they didn't realize. I mean, they didn't realize that people would definitely question. This is something that is a people's movement. As we see today, even the Supreme Court has said, sorry, it has to be published in all the languages. They published only in English and Hindi, and thought they could ride on everybody's foolishness. But no, there have been questions raised. Thankfully, a lot of people are working on that. A lot of groups are involved. A lot of legal luminaries are involved. It's fantastic. Some of the former MPs, I mean, sitting MPs are also questioning that. So it's good. There has been a check on their government's move. Now the government is saying we have another plan. One itself was disastrous. Now they're coming up with another plan. So I don't know what they're heading to, and I don't think we should allow that to happen. Coming to the roads being expanded, I don't think it's necessary at all. I mean, already people have got connections from the other side of Bannerghatta. If they have to go, they come on Kanakpura road, they can come to the Bannerghatta circle and join Anikal. There's no need for another road within the national park, that too a 4-lane. You can well imagine, already we have heard about a leopard being run down in the Ragheli area. 3 days ago, like a leopard was knocked down, because from the time the Indian Institute of Management has started constructing there, the movement of vehicles have been high. So this is just one indication, one leopard gone. With the way back 16 years ago, we had lost a leopard due to a quarry lorry knocking it down. Now this is a new incident. So you can imagine, well imagine, if you're going to expand the roads, what could happen? Why are they only interested in our forests? Why are they only interested in destroying our lakes? Can't they find revenue pockets? Let them buy land from the farmers. Let them be paid. Let them be given other options. Their mindset is only that destroy. After all, are any of these buggers planted even one sapling? Have they contributed anything? They sit in their positions and they do what they want. What is their contribution? Ask them. All they do is make money. Their power, their arrogance. I think this cannot go on. We need to step in. As I said, citizen activism has to start. If people want to have a future, better future, they want good air to breathe, water to drink, food to eat. If you sit back, that's it. Even Bannerghatta will go, Bandipur, Nagrol, everything will disappear. So it's time we step up. We don't want these 4-lane roads within our forests. And already they're talking about the National Highways Authority of India. It thinks it can do what it wants. Unfortunately, there are people who can question also. There are people who are questioning them. What is the necessity for an elevated road going from there to Anikal? There's no need. There's no need at all. When there's alternative, let them expand those roads. Existing roads they can do. After all, you might lose 20 minutes. But we can't lose an ecosystem just for the speeding up your travel time. The same thing is happening in Bandipur. The same thing is happening in Kali Tiger Reserve. So we can't allow these to happen. And I think as people, we have responsibility. As you see, the Constitution clearly says, 51 AG clearly says that we are responsible to protect our forests and environment and all our wildlife. So I think we have enough grounds to question. And the more we sit quiet, the more damage is going to happen. Every hour that you're going to be keeping quiet, there is going to be damage happening in our forests, and our ecosystem is being, you know what biodiversity is all about. Without that, we are faced with the coronavirus. That's what the researchers are saying. So let's all awaken.
Yep, you're right. And the best thing is these days people are coming up for all these issues. So since you mentioned, and this is going to be my final question, and then we'll open up for from all the listeners. So since you mentioned IAMB, so there is a construction. They're constructing their 100 acres of campus, which is just at a distance of less than 1 kilometers from the park boundary, and they dump all the debris in the nearby river, and the construction also results in a lot of noise pollution. So Arosha India, along with WTI, they're seeking a report if IMB considers the conditions which are proposed by the eco-sensitive zone, and if they have submitted any counter assessment plan or any catchment area plan. But looks like they have violated all these protocols. So what can we do about it apart from just seeking some report?
See, the first thing is we need to stop this project.
Hmm.
Here, the former forest officer should be taken to court. He can't be sitting at home after causing such damage. He has given a blanket clearance for construction of this Indian Institute of Management there in the buffer zone. And they all know it's abutting the elephant corridor, and the construction activity is definitely going to pollute the water system there. It's going to create noise pollution. Everything is happening. I think what Arusha and Wildlife Trust of India is doing is good. They're giving another option to them. But then sensible, one of the reputed institutes in India, if they are going to do this, you can well imagine what others will be doing. Already, if you look at IIM as 100 acres of property on Bannerghatta Road,
yeah,
there is ample space for it to develop whatever campus it wants. Why do they want it here? Aren't they sensible? The chairman, the director, doesn't he have brains?
yeah.
He's so insensitive. Doesn't he know about what ecology is? Does he think only money can provide us all this? Can this gentleman bring us oxygen by paying? He's not going to provide that. Why are these people? And these are top-notch educationists, academicians, and these guys are doing what they want to do. We have to question all this. This is all. The more we are quiet, the more damage is being done. I can imagine a person who doesn't understand, an illiterate person doing something, or an educated thing. And then if you look at Indian Institute of Management, what a reputation it has, bringing out some of the best names in the industry. And then it is constructing something like this. How did this happen? I think we need to file a complaint against the former forest officer, Mr. Jairam, because he had no business to do this. This is the problem, is most of our forest officers are on the verge of retirement. For their benefits, to get some positions in some board or as a chairman or some esteemed position, they compromise on our forests. The very forests which gave them money and fame, today they are destroying it. Most of them are doing that. It's not just Mr. Jairam. I know at least about 5 of them. We are definitely going to touch on these issues. We need to bring it to the people's knowledge what these gentlemen do. And also, if you look at it, these are very gentlemen who join organizations which are anti-forest. They get into the mining industry. Some of them have joined the miners. Some of them joined the builders. And they think by being there, they can support. But they don't realize that people are going to ask questions. We have started asking, we'll be asking 100 times, 1,000 times. And I think more voices need to come out now.
That's right. That's right. Definitely. So I think we can open up for the listeners, and I would request everyone to please, if you are asking questions, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hello, this is Sudhir
Yes.
again.
Yes, Sudhir.
Yeah, to add to my follow-up question, wherein the ECZ rules are altered by the whims of the whoever is proposing it. How is it possible that even the declared forest land is encroached? On what basis? Can't the courts take a suo moto case against all these?
Definitely. I mean, it's again left to us. We need to ask the questions. We need to reach the court. We need to question the government. And when there's already been declared, why are you reducing it? We have a right to ask. I think we need to do that. Let's write. There are about 5,000 people questioning the government, and it becomes 50,000 people questioning, and then it becomes 5 lakh people questioning. I think the government will have to rethink. And already, see, the worry is since the time they've declared it, already coring activities started happening there. Already builders are stepping in. They're putting a lot of pressure on the forest officers there. So the politicians are getting involved because they get paid by these builders. So I think,
Secondly, sorry to interrupt.
yeah, so when these kind of influences happen, become difficult. When we question, you see, it's like saying this: you ask once, you ask twice, you ask 100 times, you ask a million times, it gets into their thick skulls. Otherwise, our guys just feel, hey, these guys are just noisemakers. They will not. They will just ask questions and they'll go by. When we repeatedly ask questions, they will listen. We have to make them listen.
And so second, another question is, how is that these politicians brag on the forest officials on public platforms or in public?
Yeah,
And are these officials not do they don't have powers enough to retaliate against whatever humiliation they are undergoing?
That's a very unfortunate situation which has been happening in the forest department of late. What happens is when your senior, the head of the forest department is strong, all this will not happen. I can recall one Mr. Parmeshwarappa, who was the toughest PCCF I've seen. That gentleman wouldn't even worry about what the minister says or the MLA says. He says, if my forest staff is right, he is right, and we are going by the rules. When we go by the rules, when there is a Supreme Court backing there, anything can be done. So again, what happens is it all depends on the superiors. Like today, there's an instance of one of the Harapos working in Bannerghatta. He's under pressure because he doesn't yield. So they try to put pressure on the minister, the chief minister, to get him relocated. That should not be allowed to happen, because we need to talk to the senior officers, tell them, listen, boss, you're being paid to protect our forest, to look after your staff. You're supposed to be the managerial custodian of our forest and looking after the interests of your foresters and us. But if you're all going to listen to what the MLA or a local politician or an MP says, then we are all doomed. I think we need to step in, because it's very unfortunate. It's not just in Bannerghatta, it's happening everywhere. The moment an officer seizes property of encroached land, he is in trouble. There's one instance of one Muniraju, one RFO, who's been transferred 13 times in 17 years. He recovered 500 acres from one of the big politicians in Shimoga, and he got transferred. So these are things which are happening. Where there are good officers, we need to back them. We all need to come as one in solidarity and say, no, this officer has been protecting our forests. We need to stand by that. That is where we are lacking. If more people question, these things won't happen. No MLA, no minister, no MP has the right to transfer a guy before 2 years minimum of service there. And when there is a good officer, he has no business to transfer him there. And we openly challenge any of these MLAs, MPs to transfer a good officer from Bannerghatta. We'll see where it can go. These guys have to be told. We have to repeatedly pin them down and say, listen, boss, all your dadagiri, your money power doesn't work here. People's voice is more powerful, and we will ask questions. Let millions of people ask questions. These guys will back out. I think this is the ecosystem we have to create to protect good officers. Yes, if there is a wrong, corrupt official, it's equally our responsibility to ensure that he does not belong to that area. That is also we need to do. And somehow this is very unfortunate. It's been happening over and over again. And we, again, as I said, we are responsible because we are keeping quiet. We are allowing this to happen. Let's ask questions. You should ask this question to the PCCF, right to the PCCF, saying that this cannot go on. We need to protect our staff. They are our soldiers. And look at the state of our frontline staff. They're not even taken care of. So I think we need to, as a collective, we come together, united, I think anything can be achieved. As it is, if you look at the EIA, it all started. And now with more and more momentum developing, the government is.
So I think you have been muted. So you have muted yourself. Sorry to interrupt. So you have muted yourself. So can you hear me? So you have muted yourself. So please unmute yourself. Yep, I think now it's good.
Yeah. So I've answered that question, I think.
Yep. Yep. So there is a question which is on the chat and it's been sent by Prasanna KV sir. He says, I went to Anikal Haruhalli Road yesterday and there were no speed breakers anywhere. And he's a vehicle speeding on it. So he's looking for some immediate action. What can we do about it immediately?
You're talking about speeding vehicles, then within the forest areas, they can have road humps or rumble strips, as being done elsewhere in the country, in our forests in Bandipur, Nagrole, or Kali Tiger Reserve. So to control that, we can have rumble strips, road humps, these kind of things can be done. So this is something which is within the purview and the powers of the range forest officer. He can write to his DCF. DCF can talk to the PWD and get this done. Within the forest, it's the power of the forest officers, and they need to interact with the PWD. And they will oblige. Most of the times that we have seen, we have interacted, they have done the work. So I think it's the approach is important.
Yep. There is a very interesting question which came to me by Deepak. So Deepak, are you here? Have you joined today's session? So Deepak has sent this during the registration for this webinar. So he writes, why doesn't the corporates in Bangalore take full responsibility of preserving and managing the park as a part of their CSR work? And this can be an initiative in collaboration with the forest department. A very interesting question. What do you think about it, sir?
There is a thing which has been happening. The forest department has interacted with a lot of corporates. The CSR funding, they are developing, they are doing the work. But what we see of late is the corporates, the CSR activity is being restricted only to plantation.
Yep.
Okay. They don't come in and say, okay, we'll provide this kind of facility for the forest staff, like especially the anti-poaching camps and, fencing of the area, like the railway barriers being created around all the elephant areas. So all these things, they could step in. There is activity happening. But unfortunately, what we are seeing is, recently I read about the Miyawaki forest issue, which has come up in Bannerghatta, 1 acre of land. What is the necessity to do that? CSR funding can be used for something more sensible. All the CSR we see of the corporates is only for planting. Nobody is coming in and saying, okay, we'll do consolidate. Now we see the CSR funding can be used for buying up land and expanding the elephant corridors. It's happening in Bandipur. There's a forest officer, conservator forester, Mr. Balchandra, who's been reaching out to people. He's talking to people and they're supporting him. If the government doesn't do it, there are private people who are buying it. So everybody can handle, not just the corporates. Any rich person who wants to do something, who could buy up that land and hand it over to the forest department. But again, here comes when some people buy the land and they want to do forestation work. That is also not being allowed. This is where it comes to management. And I think in Karnataka, what I have seen in the last few years has been pathetic. Our forest officers have lost their spine. They're just playing ball with what the MLA is saying, minister is saying. That's it.
Yep, yep. There is another question which is asked by Ahalya Acharya ma'am. I see it in chat. So apart from directly writing to officials, what are the other ways of raising awareness or contributing to protecting our forest? You think so? Because like you rightly said, more people questioning will get the authorities to pause. So
Definitely. This is
yeah.
a right way forward. Like, you write to the department.
Hmm.
When you write, mark the copy to the forest minister, mark it to the chief minister, mark it to the PCCFs, mark it to the chief secretary, mark it to the additional chief secretary, mark it to them. More number of petitions going to them. They need to listen. That's the way forward. And if we think that somebody else is doing, we are making a mistake. We have done that too long, thinking somebody else is doing, why should I break my head? It's not my concern. So this is something more and more people write. We should keep writing to them. If possible, you should have a memorandum, hand it over to the chief secretary. You have it registered. I mean, you get an acknowledgement for that. All this will help when you go to the courts for legal remedies.
Yep. Yep. So
Sir, I have another question. I mean, sorry
so
to interrupt.
Sudhir, sorry to interrupt you. You definitely can go, but there is one question which I wanted to ask, and this is here in the chat by Namita. We need to know who are the good officers so that we can try and support them, so that we can protest when they get transferred. Like you say, awareness is the key.
Yes, we
Yeah.
can. People can
Yeah.
do that. People can definitely do that. When I talk about, when we have a Harafu, when I talk about it, they try to touch Mr. Ganesh in Bannerghatta National Park. One of the sincere forest officers there who's doing a great job. And
Right.
not just protecting, he's got a way of involving people, local communities. When we have this confidence building among the local people, that's the only way we can solve our issues. Our forest can be protected. So
Yeah.
when we have such forest officers, we need to support them. They tried to remove him some time back, but immediately public reaction was so big, the government had to rethink. In fact, if I remember, the PCCF then, one Puniti Sridhar, I mean, he was more corrupt than what I have already, I mean, shouldn't talk much about him. That gentleman was a little worried because he couldn't get what he wanted to get. He was wondering, how come you're so popular in this part of the world? He is popular, he's doing a good job. We have to support him. Same thing with Muni Raju. A lot of people try to support him it happened in Shimoga, but unfortunately, it was not pushed to very strongly. And he was transferred to Bandipur. But then it's a victory for Bandipur because we need officers like him. Right now, he's part of the tourism, but we are saying, no, you let him get into one of these most sensitive areas. But we hope the government, the senior forest officers can take this forward. And when you want to protect somebody, we can all rally around. We have done that in the past. If they do, we can question the local leaders. And if we have to call out the names of these MLAs, MPs, we have all the rights to do that. When they come asking for a horse, we have every right to question them.
Yep. Yep, that's right. Yes, Sudhir, sir, would you like to go forward with your question?
Yeah, sir, this is very extreme basic of conservation. I mean, it is one of the conservation questions. Likewise, the political parties start gathering people, pick people and gather around the booth level or whatever level they have, and they build an organization. So can't an organization for environmental activities be built?
Certainly. See, what happens in most of the public consultations that happens in the core areas, especially in the Western Ghats areas, what they do is the project proponents, the guys who got projects in that area, they bring their own set of people. if you have about 20 environmentalists or activists going in asking for that area to be protected, they will bring in about 300 people to question and garrow us, bully us and throw us out from the thing. But still we have a right to put it in writing, saying that, listen, we are against this. Once you have your dissent registered, that can be always used for the legal thing. I mean, for a legal purpose at a future date. So whatever it is, how many people they might bring, whatever clout they might have locally, but when it's going national, international, these very MLAs, MPs who indulge in all these activities, they themselves will back out because they know public backlash can be more damaging. They might win an election here and there with their money and their clout, but it can't go on forever because end of the day, as I said earlier, today they're all on social media. The Twitter, you name it, Telegram, Facebook, everywhere they are. So they're a little worried. If about 1 lakh people are questioning his integrity, that guy has to rethink because his credibility is on the line. So this is something we should use, and we should use it to our profit, not for personal profits, but to protect our forests and our wildlife.
There is one question which is asked in chats by Srinivas. He writes, can't all like-minded NGOs come under one umbrella organization to fight this out? Instead, each NGO trying their own way.
This is exactly what we wanted to do as the United Conservation Movement, which I represent. Our goal was to get all NGOs under one umbrella, not saying, to say that we're all fighting for a common cause. Our goal is to save our forests and our wildlife. So our goal was to get everybody together and say, let's all collectively work. So we achieved. If you look at Bandipur issue, night traffic beta, we started with that. And we got a lot of NGOs together. But unfortunately, what happened was when we were fighting cases individually, we were told by our legal team that the court will not take individual cases very seriously. They'll throw out your cases by calling us busybodies. They say you need to be registered as a body to take cases forward. This is where we registered as United Conservation Movement. Otherwise, it was just an umbrella with all the other NGOs together working for a cause. And we had ways of reaching out to people. We know how to manipulate. We need to manipulate. We need to play games. We need to be very smart with this political system, especially. So it's for all of us to come together. We might be UCM today, registered body, but no, we don't call ourselves as one set of people. We want all NGOs to come together. It empowers us. And for cases also, for legal cases, we need money. So everybody can contribute. And after all, what are we fighting for? And in United Conservation Movement, we had one goal. We said nobody is bigger than anybody, and we work without egos. So this is something that all NGOs can consider. We all can come together, fight cases together under any umbrella, because for us, it is not just UCM. It's about all coming together to save our forest. And I think if more and more people come together, we can definitely save our forests. We can stop our predators, the political predators, from messing around further. We should, as the question has been raised, all NGOs should work together for cause, but there are certain NGOs whom I would not want to name. They live on funds. They don't want to come and fight causes because for them, the moment they raise the voice, their accounts will be messed up with. The enforcement directorate, the income tax will come after them. So they are worried. So they don't want to raise. All the big guys in the conservation industry, I would call it, or the mafia from the industry, they don't want to raise questions. What are they doing? Let them come and ask questions. They don't want to do it. And it is all the new NGOs who are genuinely interested in doing something who want to do it, and individuals. See, UCM is a people's movement. We're not calling ourselves as something big. No, we are not. We want to work together. It's a people's movement. All people come together. We can save our forests, and without our forests, we're all gone. We know where we're heading already.
Yep. Any other question from any of the listeners? Okay, then I'll go with one question which is on the chat by Meera Rajesh. She writes, eco-sensitive zone of Someshwara Wildlife Sanctuary, which is 314 square kilometer. I think it's been reduced to 5 kilometers. What is the basis of BNP to arrive at the current ESZ? No, it's been reduced by 5 kilometers, I think. So what is the basis of BNP to arrive at the current ESZ? Has someone taken any RTI on this? BNP is similar sized. What is the scientific rationale?
Yeah, see, this is something that we need to work on. There should be RTI activism. People need to be filing RTIs to get documents, because you don't get documents easily from the departments. Because once they're in the wrong, they don't want it to be in the public domain, so that people will definitely question, will go to court. So RTI is one tool that we could profitably use to get documents, because we need to gather documents before we go to the courts. Without proper documentation, going to the court is a disaster, because once the court dismisses the case, it's dead and gone. So we can't even raise a question. So RTI is a good way of collecting documents. And when we present the right set of documents with all the details to the court, then the case gets a lot more stronger and we can win that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, right. Any other question?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, ma'am, please go ahead.
One sec. Trying to get back onto the to be seen here. Hold on. Having some technical troubles. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you, and I can see you as well.
You can?
Yeah.
I can't see anybody right now. Hold on.
Yeah. I think, ma'am, we can hear you. If you want to ask a question, you can go ahead. Okay. In the meanwhile,
hello.
Anybody else? In the meanwhile, anybody else?
Yeah, Joseph San, Ashwin with you, Joseph San. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Ashwin. How are you?
Yeah, as I understand from the discussions here, I also would like to understand that the reserve of Bannerghatta itself, the fencing or the borders itself is very, very porous. I think that is the primary thing that needs to be sealed. I think with porous fencing and porous borders, there's a lot of scope for infringement into the sensitive zone itself. So I think where is the funds going to come into for such a huge exercise?
See, as we have discussed earlier, one way is the government bringing the funds. Secondly is the CSR. From the other point of view is individuals coming in, stepping in, or NGOs stepping in and saying, okay, let's do something about it. This is a very serious concern, especially in the Tamil Nadu-Karnataka border. Very porous, poaching activities are too heavy, and the elephant movement, about the man-animal conflicts are pretty high in these regions. So I think government needs to see. If you look at it, take Kruger National Park. How did Kruger National Park raise the money? They got it from the United Nations. I mean, they raised the money from there, and local, all the other NGOs also supported the cause. So it's not difficult. Here, what happens is some of the big NGOs in our country, they are making money, they're making a pile, but they don't want to spend it on these kind of activities. All they do is they'll provide these forest staff some caps. Once in a while, they will give them shoes and gear for the rainy season. Or occasionally, they might sponsor a jeep and add it over to the forest department. they just give about 2% of the money for these activities. Let them give 50% of the funding that they get for augmenting these issues. I mean, like, fencing issue or buying up land, they could do that. But these big NGOs don't do that. I mean, I don't want to name them because there's another issue coming up. We're waiting on that. But yes, they should do that. But unfortunately, they're not doing. And the kind of money they get, my God, it's mind-boggling. Tiger Funds is big. Tiger Funds is big for them. But ask them, individually, they're making money. They only enjoy the perks from what they get. They abuse our forests, they use our forests for their own research, never share the documents with the forest department. That should be our right. I think this is something that NGOs could also do. Why wait only on the government? Why wait only on the corporates? After all, NGOs, it's not their money being pumped by the public. People are funding it. So let there be accountability. Let's raise questions. Let's ask questions. What are the big NGOs doing? You talk about the WWF, they're collecting money every other day. They need to come in and say, okay, what is the tangible results from what your funding is all about? Just don't please your forest officers. Don't give them biryani and chicken 65. Don't get them, televisions and refrigerators. Put that money where it should be. Because these guys do that. Most of the NGOs do this basically because they want to use the forests. They want to use the forest for their profit, and they want to be known as the guys who are doing the work there. So this has to change. I hope people can start asking more and more questions. This is where we need to step in. We need to breathe on the necks of all these characters, the forest officials, the government, our politicians, our NGOs, everybody. And especially when we find somebody messing around, we need to mess around with them. That's the message we should give them.
Right. So we are reaching towards the closure of today's webinar, but I'd like to take one question. So sorry to interrupt you. I would like to ask Maya ma'am if you are back, and would you like to ask a question? I think you're speaking on mute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry I disappeared there. Hello, everybody. It's such an honor to be on this call. I'm actually from the United States, and I'm living in Oroville right now in Tamil Nadu. And I've done a lot of work using the arts to do environmental advocacy and elephant conservation. So that's in a nutshell, a little my background. I'm very curious, getting back to very basics. There's so many political and financial and legal issues here that you're talking about, and I appreciate that, and it's complex. But getting back to almost like the core basis of the motivation here, I wanted to ask you, what do you think we'll lose if we continue to lose not just the forests and the corridors, but the elephants themselves? I'm very curious, in the most dire situation where it looks very possible that they're going to go pretty much extinct. What are we losing on an ecological level? What are we losing on a spiritual level? What are we losing on an economic level? I know I have some of my own opinions on this, and it's a sort of basic question, but I hope it's still useful. I can't hear you.
So
are
you're
you muted?
speaking on mute. So you're speaking on mute. Please unmute yourself. So you're speaking on, you're on mute.
Joseph, I'll repeat. What are we going to lose economically, ecologically, and spiritually for the world and for India specifically if we keep going in this direction with the loss of habitat and the loss of elephants?
Yeah, once the elephant goes, it's as good as a forests are gone. The elephants are what creates a forest. We all know what the contribution is. So when you look at it, the way our elephants are going down, every other day we're hearing about elephant deaths in Tamil Nadu, in Karnataka, in Orissa, in West Bengal, in Assam. Kerala, everywhere, we're hearing about elephant deaths. And we all should know that elephants are ones which have created our forests. Our birds, our elephants, more so our elephants, because they're the ones who drop the seeds and we are getting forests, because nobody can go into afforestation in the core areas. Once we lose our elephants, we are in big trouble. And when you talk about the spiritual perspective of that, it's very, very critical that the people, we revere the elephant. In India, we revere the elephant in our culture. So
Right.
each one of us got a responsibility to ensure that survives. And when you talk about the economics of that, our GDP and all that stuff, if elephants are not creating forests and there are no forests, where will we be? As it is, one coronavirus is showing where we are heading. Lack of biodiversity, we have the zoonotic influences which have created these viruses. So we'll be inviting more trouble. So
And
elephants are essential.
Can I just ask you, also all of you, one thing? I wish I could have heard the whole Zoom meeting better. I probably didn't hear some of the answers because I have bad connection. But with the name Bannerghatta, I don't know how to pronounce it. Bannerghatta?
Bannerghatta, yeah.
Yeah, it's Bannerghatta.
Yeah, I just want to share the creative thought that you could have this be, with all your wonderful thinking, a banner project, using the word banner for like a banner project, with billboards and with whatever way you can use Bangalore University students and younger children. I would love to be involved more. I don't know if I can manage on this trip because I'm probably heading back to the United States in the next few weeks, but I'm going to stay in touch with Avinash, and I would love to be in touch more with the arts and education and consciousness, awareness raising, as well as the sort of legal battles here. So if it's of any use to use the word banner, I just wanted to mention that creative brainstorm.
I think Sonal should be answering this. Is definitely any
Definitely.
publicity.
Yeah, yeah. Because
Publicity
you can
is
make
very,
it a
very
banner,
important.
you know, it's a lot of work, but if you can make it a banner project
Yes.
that somehow cuts through certain barriers and models some new kinds of conservation engagement, including with the tribals, and maybe training them to be more involved in planting reforestation, and in, like in Zimbabwe, where they have the female villagers becoming anti-poaching agents, it
Yeah.
could lead to you guys being sort of a model or leader.
I think Arosha has been doing a good work in the Bannerghatta landscape. They're involving a lot of local people there. And also they've been planting, especially the species which are you know, palatable to the elephants and the wildlife around the place. So they've been doing a good work there. But I mean, we all should handle Arosha, because this what I've seen of Arosha is they are dedicated, they're focused, especially with the work related to elephant and developing the corridors. And they don't pull back a punch where it has to be hit. But unfortunately, what happens, NGOs are always sitting on a wall. They don't know what to do, because next moment they could be stopped from working in the field. This is the kind of atmosphere we have in our country. So that needs to change, and only people can change that. And obviously, they would need both people support as well as financial support to do anything that they are doing now. And if they want to get more and more tribals involved and more local people involved, I think we need to reach out to them. That's the way forward. This is what's been happening in most of the forests in Bandipur. Bandipur and Nagrole hold almost about more than 50% of the elephants in the country, and especially the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. So there are a lot of activities. I mean, if you look at it, people are getting involved. A lot of local youngsters are being drawn in to activism there. And they're also assisting the forest department during the fire season and driving away elephants, especially from the farmlands and all this stuff. So somewhere this process has started, and it needs to be bigger. It has to be magnified. We are just doing about 10%. We need to do 60%. We have to go save our elephants. Without our elephants, no forests, No forest, we are gone. No water, nothing to eat. That's the bottom line of that.
Yep, definitely. Thank you, sir. And Maya ma'am, what we can do is we can definitely collaborate and talk on those lines later. So we'll definitely get in touch.
Okay, let's do that. Thank you very much.
Yep. So with this, I think we have reached the closure of today's webinar. And
I have one more, Sonal.
Yes,
See, at
yes,
this
sir.
point of time, what I hear is the forest department and the jungle lodges resorts, they are wanting to develop ecotourism in the fragmented forest. There's already a fragmented forest. They want to bring in ecotourism. And I think people need to stop this. There's no need for ecotourism there, because we already have a biological park which has been carved out of the national park. There are safaris there. There is tiger safari, lion safari, bear safari, the herbivore safari. I think that is good enough for ecotourism. Let's not be developing more and more areas for ecotourism, because the roads have to be made. Once the intrusion starts, there's a lot of disturbance. So we don't need this. And what we need to also remind the forest department is their job is to protect the forest. They're not here to make money out of it. Job is to protect the forest. Let's stick to that. Protection is our game. We have been paid to protect the forest. We are all responsible for that. So we can avoid this ecotourism. Ecotourism, let them do elsewhere. We have biological parks. Let them do there.
Definitely, sir. Definitely. So I hope this discussion
Can I ask one small question? Small, yeah. I'm waiting.
Okay, sir. Yeah. So this is going to be my question. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
It will not take much time, is it?
ಇದು
ಈ ಶಾಲಾ ಕಾಲೇಜುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ನ ನಾವು ಯಾಕೆ ಹಮ್ಕೋಬಾರ್ದು? ಇವಾಗ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಸುರೇಶ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರು ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಮುಂದಿನ ಪೀಳಿಗೆಗೆ ಕನಿಷ್ಠ ಅದು ಉಪಯೋಗ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನನ್ನ ಭಾವನೆ.
ಹೌದು, ಮಾಡ್ಲೇಬೇಕು. ಅದು ಮಾಡಿದಷ್ಟು ಒಳ್ಳೇದು. ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ರೀಚ್ ಔಟ್ ಆಗ್ತೀವಿ, ಅದು ಬಹಳ ಒಳ್ಳೇದಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಈ ಸುರೇಶ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಅಂತ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ನಾವು ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಯುಟಿಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಜೆನ್ಯೂನ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್. ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೇದ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಂತ ಅವ್ರು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರ ತರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಈ ಪೊಲಿಟಿಷಿಯನ್ ಬೇರೆಯವರು, ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಓರಿಯೆಂಟೆಡ್. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಹೂ ಆರ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಅ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಜಾಬ್. ವಿ ಶುಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ and ensure that Mr. Suresh Kumar can take these programs to colleges, schools, make it part of the curriculum environment. I mean, today, if you look at it, they removed ecology. I mean, let's not get into all these controversies, but that can be done. ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೈ ಜೋಡಿಸ್ಬೇಕು. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಒಬ್ಬರ ಕೈಗೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಕಾಲೇಜಸ್ಗೆ, ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ಸ್, ಈ ತರ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಫಾರೋಶಾ ಇರ್ಲಿ, UCM ಇರ್ಲಿ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಯಾವ್ದೇ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಇರ್ಲಿ, ಕೆನೆತ್ ಆಂಡರ್ಸನ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಇರ್ಲಿ, ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಬನ್ನರ್ಘಟ್ಟ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ದೇ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಲ್ ಡೂ ದಿಸ್. ಎಲ್ರು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಈಗ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಪೀಪಲ್ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಈಗ ಹೀಗೆ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇನಿಷಿಯಲ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾವು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸೇ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು UCM ಇಂದ ಏನೇನೋ ಬ್ಯಾನರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಆದ್ರೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಲ್. ಈಗ ಸಡನ್ ಆಗಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆನೂ, ಈಗ ತಮಿಳ್ನಾಡು ಇರ್ಲಿ, ಕೇರಳ ಇರ್ಲಿ, ಮಹಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ಇರ್ಲಿ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆನೂ ಶುರು ಆಗಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಯುಟಿಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಕೊನೆಗೇನು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ ಕಾಡ್ ಬೇಕಷ್ಟೇ. ನಮ್ ಕಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ನೀರಿದೆ, ಊಟ ಇದೆ, ನಾವು ಬದುಕೋಬಹುದು. ಕಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ತರಬೇಕು. ಕೊನೆಗೇನಂದ್ರೆ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಸಮ್ ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು. ಜನ ಸೇರ್ದೋರೆ ಈ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ಗಳು, MLಗಳು ಯಾರು ಕೇಳಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರು ಒಂಥರ ಸ್ಟಿಕ್, ನಮ್ಮ ರೈನಾಸರಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಾರ್ದು, ಅದಕ್ಕಿನ್ನ ಕೆಡ್ದಾಗ ಸ್ಕಿನ್ ಇದೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಡ್ರೈವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಪೀಪಲ್ಸ್ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ಬೇಕು. ವಿ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಆಸ್ಕ್ 100 times, million times. Only then things will change. And I think people need to awaken now. If you want to survive, you want your children to survive, you want your grandchildren to survive, please ask questions now. Let not everything be left to those children to suffer tomorrow, because we have lived our times. The ones who are coming up in the future, they have a bright future. Let's not create these kind of calamities for them. Already global warming is destroying us. We need to do something for our future generations, and we are responsible for that.
ನಿಮ್ಮ ಫೋನ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಕೊಡಿ. ಕೊರೋನಾ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಸುರೇಶ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಮೀಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗೋಣ. ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ನಿಮ್ ಫೋನ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಬೇಕು ಸರ್.
ನಂದಾ?
ಹೌದು ಸರ್, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಮುಂದಿನ ದಿನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಬೇಕು. 98
446 44068.
ಈ ಕೆಲಸ ಸುರೇಶ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಮೀಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಕೊರೋನಾ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬರೋಣ ಸರ್.
ಅದನ್ನ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೈ ಜೋಡಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಉಳಿಸ್ಬೋದು. ಕಾಡು ಉಳಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ನಾವು ಖಾಲಿ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತಿಲ್ಲ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಸರ್.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So I hope this discussion adds to our knowledge and perspective on how we see Bannerghatta National Park. With this, we have come to an end of today's session. But before that, I would like to invite Mr. Avinash Krishnan. He's a senior research officer at Arosha, India, and he provides a lot of guidance to B4B. So, Avinash, thank you for joining, sir. Are you there?
Yes, I'm right.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, sorry, the vote of thanks. Firstly, thank you, Joseph Hoover, sir, for always being a support to Bannerghatta. And it was indeed a pleasure to listen to the times where we were not there around Bannerghatta, and to hear from your perspective as to how the forest has transformed from what it was and what it is today. And also to thank you again for taking an opportunity to share your experience with us, especially on a Sunday morning, and kindly obliging to talk to all the participants and being very patient in answering all kinds of questions that have been put forth by the participants. And I'd like to extend a deep gratitude for that. And it's also nice and heartwarming to see a lot of active participants who've been working around Bannerghatta. I saw some of the participants who've actively been working with the Forest Department. We also have some members of the Forest Department also who've attended this session. It's a great thank you to you for taking time off and coming. And also the team of B4B who have been exceptionally organized in terms of producing an event like this, and also to try and highlight some of the major issues that have been portrayed in this discussion, and also trying to give some knowledge to the kind of issues that are pertaining to the Bannerghatta landscape. Through this event, we are trying to repeatedly highlight some of the grave consequences that we have emerging, like what Joseph Hoover rightly highlighted, and how we all as citizens can come forward to help in protection. And that's been the sole objective of this initiative. And it's very welcoming to see that so many volunteers from different walks of life coming and participating in causes like conservation. So thank you very much. And I hope you had a wonderful session. Joseph sir has already shared his number, so I'm sure many of the questions in the chat couldn't be answered because of the paucity of time. So I'm sure he'll be kind enough if you could reach out to him immediately and also support his work as he progresses for the goodness of this planet as well as our society. Thank you so much, and have a good day.
Thank you, Avinash. Thank you very much. And thank you, Joseph, sir, for this wonderful and very interactive session today. So to all the listeners, we'll keep on conducting these kinds of interactive and interesting sessions going forward, and we'll keep you posted about it in our social media pages. So on this note, I just have one thing in my mind, and this is coming to me in Hindi because I'm a Hindi speaking person. So there is a saying in Hindi which is "Ab pachtaye hot ka jab chidiyan chug gayi khet." In English we say there's no point crying over spilt milk. So this quote sits perfectly with our take on the current situation of our environment and wildlife today. So therefore we need to buckle up and come forward to rescue our nature and its animals before we start regretting their depletion. So thank you everyone for joining in today, and have a happy Sunday. Good day.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.